We all know that Ashton Jeanty is a big-time playmaker, but what are realistic expectations for him his rookie year? That plus more on Friday's edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast for May 2nd, 2025.
You are Locked On Raiders, your daily Las Vegas Raiders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome in, Raider Nation, to another edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast. Thank you so much for making the show your first listen of the day. Definitely appreciate you, whether you're catching the show wherever you find your favorite podcast or you're checking us out by way of the YouTube page. You know we appreciate both. The show continues to grow each and every day because of your support and the job that my man Ari does behind the scenes, making sure we look good and sound good each and every day. So we definitely appreciate him. We shout him out. He's on Twitter at Ari Produces. You can hit me up as well at your boy Q254. And if you want to be a part of the show, we got the Locked On Raider podcast voicemail line wide open like some old school TV antennas for you. 707-654-4693. We got plenty of feedback for you. Calls, texts. We'll get to as many as possible as we close out the show in segment number 3. Not only close out the show, but close out the week, send you into the weekend the right way. So as many of your calls and texts, we'll do that. Segment number 3. Segment number 2, it's all about Ashton Jeanty. Realistic expectations for his rookie year. There's plenty of big national names that are talking about what they think he's going to do his rookie year. So what do we believe? What do I believe? How do we think Ashton Jeanty will look his rookie year with the Raiders? Obviously, with the other weapons that the Raiders offense has. We'll break that down and talk about it in segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Here in segment number 1, news and notes of the day. Plenty of news and notes to get to. A little bit of nuggets here and there. It's nothing like massive, but just plenty of little nuggets that will send you into the weekend the right way with. And we'll do that after I tell you about the title sponsor of the show, which is Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K. Of course, you could turn any TV into your Xbox. No consoles needed. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to learn about more. Before we get into anything, how cool was it? We were talking about it on the podcast about wake up, wake up, wake up. It's the first of the month, and anyone's been listening to this show for a long time knows I've tried to do that every single first of the month. Normally I get it. Every once in a while forget, but every opportunity that I get to do it, I do. And it's funny because people have talked about it. We've had a lot of fun with it back and forth. You know, should I do it? Should I not do it? Cool. Hood holiday, whatever the case may be. How cool was it if you're on social media and you happen to see the Raiders tweet out pictures from their practice and their caption was wake up, it's the first of the month. I felt a little bit of justified there. Thought that was kind of cool. So shout out to the Raiders social media team. No, it was not me. Someone hit me up, was like, hey, did you take over their social media team? No, I did not do it. But I thought it was cool that they featured the first of the month in their little videos that they had with the practice that are going on at the Raiders facility. So with that being said, we'll get into the news and notes. Off top, the Raiders did make a roster move. On Thursday, they signed wide receiver Colin Johnson. Now, I remember him when he was at the University of Texas. He played there 4 years, played in 45 games, had 29 starts, 188 catches, and 2,624 yards, along with 15 touchdowns. Now, the thing about Colin Johnson, he's 6'6". He's a big dude. I mean, are you seeing a theme here with all the players that the Raiders are bringing in? A lot of big dudes, a lot of strong dudes, a lot of tough dudes. So 6'6". He joins the Raiders after playing the last 2 seasons with the Bears. He was originally a 5th-round pick, number 165 overall by the Jaguars back in 2020, before being signed off waivers by the Giants, where he spent 2 seasons. He's appeared in 38 career games with 1 start, 31 catches, 394 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So obviously he hasn't had a lot of production in the National Football League, had plenty of production at the University of Texas. He's also a San Jose, California native, so shout out to San Jose. But yeah, thought that was pretty cool, especially because I got to see him a lot while I was in Central Texas covering Baylor. Obviously saw him at Texas. So again, he's just another guy added to the mix, another guy that'll be added to the competition. They're bringing in plenty of guys for rookie minicamp. They've got those invites out. They've signed plenty of undrafted free agents. They're signing guys just to try to build this competition for this roster. And again, if you remember going back to what Pete Carroll did when he first arrived in Seattle, there was like 300 changes to the roster. So he has no shame in turning this bad boy over. And I expect to see so many different changes with this Raiders roster. But Colin Johnson, the latest addition, wide receiver, standing 6'6". Wanted to pass along these offseason workout dates. I know I've passed them along before, but the NFL just released the dates officially for a little bit more on yesterday, as a matter of fact. So rookie minicamp is May 9th through 11th, so that's coming up in a few days. OTA offseason workouts, May 19th, May 21st and 22nd, May 27th, May 29th and 30th, and June 2nd through 5th. Remember, those OTA offseason workouts, those are all voluntary. Rookie minicamp, Obviously, if you're a rookie, you need to be there. And then mandatory minicamp, where everyone's supposed to be. If you're on the roster, if you've signed a contract, June 10th through 12th, and then they'll break for the summer, and then they'll come back for training camp, and that'll be in early August or late July, late July, and then they'll get going for training camp. But June 10th through 12th is when mandatory minicamp is. That's when everyone who has a contract with the team needs to be there at the facility ready for practice. A lot of people have asked me about Ashton Jeanty and what number he's going to wear. He always represents number 2, right? I mean, even on his Twitter account, Ashton Jeanty 2 or Deuce, or, he always goes by Deuce. And so we are wondering, is he going to wear the number 2 that's currently held by Daniel Carlson? Well, we found out that Ashton Jeanty 2 on Twitter, that's what he is going to be wearing the number 2. And that number was assigned to Daniel Carlson. I'm not sure what number Daniel Carlson is going to be wearing now. I'm not sure what it cost Ashton Jeanty to get that number 2. As far as Carlson goes, he was 38 at Auburn. He was 8 when he first arrived with the Raiders, so maybe he goes back to one of those numbers, or maybe he goes to something completely different. But it looks like Ashton Jeanty is, in fact, going to be wearing that number 2, and Daniel Carlson will have a different jersey number. And even I went to the NFL shop. I mentioned the other day how Ashton Jeanty is one of the highest rookie jersey sales already, and his number 2 is there available. Now, they do say there that they won't ship the jersey until it's actually confirmed that that's going to be the number. So they reserve the right to take the time before they actually ship the jersey because they don't want to get the number right or wrong. So it's 2. We feel like we're pretty confirmed that it's 2, but until it's all set in stone, you can order it, but they're not going to ship it until they know 100%. But it does look like Ashton Jeanty is going to be rocking the number 2. Now, I found this to be pretty interesting. Little draft nuggets. Kaylin Kaler, she works for ESPN. She's a great writer. Matter of fact, she's going to be on my radio show later on today at 2:10 p.m. Pacific time, talking about Touchdown Tommy. Tommy Millette, the 6th-round pick. He was a quarterback there in Montana State, but he's going to be wide receiver, like a Julian Edelman type with the silver and black. They picked him, and then they picked Cam Miller right after that, the 2 FCS guys. But she tweeted out, the level of deception associated with the 6th-round pick is why I love the draft. Raiders GM John Spytek told me he didn't bring Tommy Millette in to visit because he didn't want to broadcast their interest, and that comment about his kid and Jeanty, that was strategic too. So she went on in her piece on ESPN.com. I found this to be interesting. I got it right here. So Spytek didn't use a 30 visit on Millette, in part to stay off of everyone else's radar. The other part of it, she said he won't get into. But she did quote, "We do lots of different things," he says. "I involved my kid in the Ashton Jeanty chase just to maybe get people to think that, well, he would never do what a 10-year-old says." Spytek told reporters, if you remember, his son would be walking out of the family if he didn't draft Ashton Jeanty, and the Raiders drafted Jeanty number 6 overall. Also, when it comes to special teams coordinator Tom McMahon talking about Touchdown Tommy Millette, McMahon believes Millette can be like Julian Edelman, Taysom Hill, or Josh Cribbs, and he knew going into the draft that every special teams coordinator and assistant was well aware of the Montana State quarterback. The special teams coaching community is small and tight-knit and also very talkative. So McMahon did his best to obscure his true feelings about Millette whenever his name would come up in special teams text threads. You're just like, oh, wow, I didn't know about him, he says. You really want to play dumb, and a lot of guys do because it's all about competition. You never show your hand. I thought that was pretty interesting. Again, Kaylin Kaler from ESPN, she'll be on my radio show later on this afternoon. We'll definitely ask her about that and deep dive into all things Tommy Millette, Touchdown Tommy, as they call him at Montana State. But I thought that was really cool that basically John Spytek was putting things out there when it comes to Ashton Jeanty just to get people like me to be like, there's no way. It's so obvious. There's no way that they can go for him. And that's what I said. Remember, that's what I was saying. I was like, it's just too obvious. They wouldn't do something that obvious. Well, he actually did it to get people to think exactly what I said. So well done. At least it worked on me. I don't know who else it worked on, if anyone, but it worked on me. So well done. I thought that was kind of cool and shows a little bit of the strategy from the first year GM. The final nugget I have for you for segment number 1 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast kind of goes along with that draft strategy from John Spytek. And when you look up and down what the Raiders were able to do in the draft, this piece of audio, this piece of sound that I'm about to play for you might explain a lot when it comes to the Raiders draft class. Jason Licht, right? He's the GM there in Tampa Bay. John Spytek was the assistant GM there for quite a while. Obviously, he'll learn a lot. Well, Licht was the guest on the Pat McAfee show on ESPN just a couple days ago, and he was talking about his current draft strategy because of their previous failures, and they had to come to some agreement on what they were going to do and how they were going to get it right. in the draft. Check this out. Jason Light, the GM of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, on the Pat McAfee Show.
5 years ago, we weren't having the success I wanted in the drafts. We kind of had a powwow, got together, just all of us, the whole staff, talking about what are the picks that have made it? What are the picks in the history of the Bucs and that have made it and were big-time players? And it was the person. We're rarely missing on the player. We're missing on the person. And what are these qualities of a person that made them successful? And we came up with it. We came up with a little slogan. John Spytek was a part of this too. It was called "I Am That Man." It's a quality that we're looking for, and it's really not that hard. We put the players that are worthy of being drafted on the draft board, like every team does. But then we just kind of take the assholes and the douchebags off, and guys that don't love football and guys that have proven that they don't like it, they're difficult to deal with, and we just kind of mitigate our risk. We're taking great players that are great humans.
So I thought that was kind of cool. Obviously, pretty colorful with the language right there, talking about we took all the a-holes and the D-bags off of our list, right? We got all the football players, all the guys that love football, and anyone who was an a-hole or a D-bag, nah, you're out of here. And they said it worked, right? I mean, it's been working. If you look at Tampa Bay, the proof is in the pudding. They've been drafting really good players. They've been having a lot of production from their really good players. And it sounds like they really boiled it down to a simple strategy. And John Spytek was part of that. I Am That Man program. So I wanted to bring that to the table because, again, we don't know a lot about John Spytek and what he brings to the table, any of his tendencies. But now we know, right? Now we can always think about that. We can keep that in the back of our head. I Am That Man program. John Spytek signs up for that. So when you start to wonder who the Raiders are going to draft, if this guy could be on their board, how high they'd be on their board, think of that program. Great players that are great humans. And that's really all you need to know. Look up and down the list. Every single guy that was drafted by the Silver and Black, the one thing that is common is everyone says not only are they a great player, they're a great person. So do with that what you may. Coming up in segment number 2, speaking of great people, Ashton Jeanty. He's been labeled a great person by many people, including his former coach at Boise State, Spencer Danielson, who I got a chance to talk to the night of the draft, the night that he got selected number 6 overall by the Silver and Black. But what is his impact? What do I believe and what should we believe his true impact on the Raiders can be in year 1? We'll talk about that in segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Before we get to that, though, I do want to tell you about the title sponsor of the show, and that is Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K. Did you know it's also an Xbox? You can turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with the Fire TV Stick 4K device. No consoles required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe or sign into Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to go. You can dive into hundreds of premium titles, including EA Sports College Football 25, Call of Duty, as easily as you stream your favorite shows. And you can do this, again, just with the Fire TV Stick 4K. It makes it possible to keep playing from almost everywhere. And if you have a console already, a Fire TV Stick 4K device is actually more affordable and easier to travel with, allowing it to take you or your kids' games wherever you like to plug in. Do you ever find yourself flipping between apps to find one place that just works? With Fire TV Stick 4K, everything's in one place. Netflix, YouTube, and beyond. So it's all really convenient. We love convenience, don't we? Especially whenever we're on the road. I know. I just came off the road. Lovely. So happy to be home. What do you need to do? Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller are required. Available on select devices including Fire TV Stick 4K 2nd Gen, Fire TV Stick 4K Max 1st and 2nd Gen, and Fire TV Cube 3rd Gen. All right, Raider Nation, here we go. Segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. What are realistic expectations for Ashton Jeanty in his rookie season? There's been a lot of conversation. Obviously, he was Superman there at Boise State, going over 2,600 yards. He was a one-man wrecking crew there at Boise State. But this is the NFL. It's a different ball game. He's not going to necessarily be that guy. But there are a lot of high expectations out there for him. And I heard a few different guys nationally talking about Ashton Jeanty, and of course, that caught my attention. One of those guys, Brian Baldinger, he was on the Jim Rome show. I have a lot of respect for Baldy. His Baldy breakdowns are fantastic. Normally he's talking about Max Crosby, the Condor, breaking him down and what he does so well on the field. Well, now he's talking about Ashton Jeanty. Jim Rome had asked him about him and thought about what his expectations are for him year 1 with the Raiders. Check it out.
I mean, I think he's the leading choice right now to be the offensive rookie of the year, Jim. I mean, I think Geno Smith, whoever's playing quarterback, is going to turn around and hand it off to him 300 times. He's going to touch it 300. He's a good receiver. It could be 350. He's going to get the ball a lot. Pete Carroll made his living with Reggie Bush and Marshawn Lynch and Chip Kelly. His first year in the NFL, I mean, Shady McCoy in Philadelphia in 2013, Jim, he led the league in rushing. So they're gonna feature the run game, and they were last in rushing a year ago. That is going to turn around this year. I think he is going to be a big part of what I believe is going to be a Raider turnaround in Las Vegas.
So Baldy right there says 300 to 350 touches, offensive rookie of the year. My good friend John McClain has been covering the NFL for a long time. He joins my radio show each and every Tuesday. The first thing he said on Tuesday when he joined the show was the Raiders have the offensive rookie of the year in Ashton Jeanty. So there's a lot of high expectations where people believe he's going to be the offensive rookie of the year. Brian Baldinger talking about 300 to 350 touches his rookie year. That is obviously a combination of carries and receiving the ball in the backfield, which he didn't do a lot in 2024, but the year before he was able to do quite a bit, and I think that that's an underrated part of his game. I do believe he's going to be heavily involved. 300 to 350 touches, that is a lot. So that was Brian Baldinger on Jeanty on the Jim Rome Show. How about Jordan Reed? He was asked about Ashton Jeanty and what he could bring to the table, and not necessarily even asked about Ashton Jeanty, just about a guy, a rookie who's going to make an immediate impact, and have that great return for the team that selected him. He was on ESPN's Unsportsmanlike. Chris Canty is actually the one asking Jordan Reed this question.
Jordan, when you look at the 2025 rookie class, who's the player that you think will be the most impactful, that will have the quickest return on investment for that franchise?
Well, I think the obvious one is Ashton Jeanty. With the Las Vegas Raiders, he enters into an offense that doesn't have a clear option at running back, so he's going to be one of their better playmakers along with Brock Bowers. We know Pete Carroll likes to run the football. That's what he wants to do. I think he saw a modern-day version of Marshawn Lynch in Jeanty, and I think that's why they were so adamant about picking him at number 6 overall. So Ashton Jeanty definitely is one I can see translating right away.
So you hear Jordan Reed default to Ashton Jeanty. No clear running back outside of Jeanty with the Raiders. Carroll likes to run the ball, called him the modern-day Marshawn Lynch. So what do we believe are realistic expectations? And so I was wondering, as I was thinking about, touches and yards and touchdowns, I started to think like, okay, so what about what Josh Jacobs did as a rookie? And then I thought about, forget Josh Jacobs as a rookie. How about just his whole career, what he's done so far? So I went back and pulled the numbers. 2019, his rookie year, he had 242 carries, ran for 1,150 yards, had 7 touchdowns. That was in 13 games. And remember, all this is going to be based off of health. Ashton Jeanty's got to stay healthy as well, right? I mean, this is the NFL, and anyone is subject to get injured at any time. But we're just going to assume that he's going to be healthy. So 1,150 yards, 7 touchdowns in 13 games, Josh Jacobs' rookie year. 2020, he upped his carries, 273 yards, but his yards went down to 1,065, but he had 12 touchdowns. That was in 15 games. So his yardage goes down, has more carries. 2021, 217 carries, 872 yards, 9 touchdowns. That's in 15 games. Didn't even hit 1,000 yards. That was the year that the Raiders made the playoffs somehow, some way. Gruden had got fired. Bisaccia takes over as the interim head coach, and somehow, some way, they find themselves in the playoffs, and then they had a first-round exit to the Cincinnati Bengals. But less than 1,000 yards in 2021 for Jacobs on 217 carries. Then he comes back in 2022, 340 carries. None of this is talking about receptions. 1,653 yards and 12 touchdowns in 17 games. That was the year he led the league in rushing. That was the year that he was told they weren't picking up his 5th-year option, and he was in a contract year, and he went and balled out. The next year, 2023, 233 carries, so it goes down more than 100 carries, 805 yards, 6 touchdowns in only 13 games. So played in 4 less games the following year. And then obviously he was out of there going to Green Bay as a free agent. So last year, 2024, he's back up to 301 carries, 1,329 yards, 15 touchdowns, and again, played in 17 games. So twice in Josh Jacobs' career so far, he's played the full amount of games. 17 games in 2022, 17 in 2024. And then the other seasons when there was only 20 or 16 games, he got the 13 games or 15 games. And then in 2023, only 13 games. That's when Zamir White had that, 4-game breakout where you thought, okay, man, this guy may be able to take the role of Josh Jacobs, and clearly that wasn't possible in 2024. So what does any of that mean when it comes to Ashton Jeanty? I just want to kind of get a ballpark figure of how much he was used. So I'm looking at and thinking about that 300 number that Baldy had mentioned. I don't think that Jeanty quite gets to 300 carries this rookie year. I kind of put him around 275. I think that would be reasonable. I also realize that the Raiders have more weapons, right? They have They have a Brock Bowers. They have a Jacoby Myers. They have a Big Mike who I think is going to play a role. They have Thornton who I think is going to, catch some touchdown passes and stretch the field a little bit. They've got other guys that they can get the rock to. And then even near the end zone, they still have Raheem Mostert, who is, a guy that's really good at getting into the end zone on the short yardage. So I think that there's going to be a few elements in play. I don't think that they're going to hit him for 300 carries his rookie year. Remember, he had 750 carries at Boise State, so he's already got a lot of carries on him. Not that they're going to go in and try to put a governor on him. I just don't see him being that guy that's going to carry the rock that much. They got a competent quarterback in Geno Smith, so I think they're going to let him cook a little bit as well. And even if he carries the rock 275 times, I definitely believe that his presence is still going to be felt. With that being said, I think that 275 carries could still get him around 1,300 yards. And you remember, it used to be 1,000 yards was kind of like, hey, if you're a running back, you got to get to 1,000 yards. You had a really good season. It's not really the standard anymore, especially now that there's 17 games, right? I like to see Jeanty around 1,300 yards. Like, I honestly would like to see him around 1,700 yards, which means he's getting about 100 yards per game. But I know there's going to be a game or two that he's not going to get that, right? I mean, it just happens. That's the nature of the beast when it comes to the NFL. But I think 1,300, around 1,300 yards is reasonable. Again, I don't want to set the bar too high. I don't want to act like all of a sudden they're going to go from being the worst rushing team in the league to the best. 1,300 yards would have had him around 7th, would have had him right behind Josh Jacobs last year across the league. Josh Jacobs had, I think, 1,302, and then there was a running back that had 1,299. So that would have put him about 7th in the league. I think that that's fair, especially as a rookie. I think 275, 1,300 yards and double digits touchdowns is something that you can expect. The thing about Jeanty that I think is going to really help him is where Josh Jacobs didn't hit a bunch of home runs. Jeanty has the chance to be a home run hitter. That's the one element that could change the game. That could all of a sudden put his numbers up closer to 1,400 because he could all of a sudden go 4 yards, 5 yards, 55 yards touchdown, right? I mean, that's the capability that he has. That's the one difference between him and Josh Jacobs. And everyone who's listened to this show for a while knows I have a ton of respect for Josh. Josh was not just the big home run hitter. There was times when he'd break out for a 25-yard run or a 30-yard run, break a lot of tackles. They'd be pulling his jersey and ripping his jersey, and that'd be fantastic. We'd all get fired up. But if Jeanty gets in front of you, you see the back of his jersey, he's going to be gone. I mean, it's just that simple. And I described it on my radio show, I don't think he's quite the home run hitter that like a Napoleon Kaufman was, when I always felt like anytime Knapp got the ball in his hand, he could take it to the house. But he's also, I don't think, going to lose yards as much as Knapp did. It's like Knapp would go 2 yards, 3 yards, 4 yards, minus 3 yards, 85 yards touchdown, right? I mean, it's just you had to give him the ball enough times. He was going to break 1 or 2, right? I think that you'll see more consistent running from Ashton Jeanty. So that's why I put him around 1,300. I still think that that's going to help Geno Smith so much as far as just being a productive quarterback, because you know that he has that ability to hit a home run when it comes to giving the ball to Jeanty, and I believe that's going to suck the defense up. So once they start to come up and do like the Chiefs did in the Super Bowl and say, hey, you know what, Saquon Barkley's not going to beat us, that's when a guy like Geno Smith can hit Bowers, Jacoby Myers, right, can go deep, right, because they're all of a sudden now they're leaving themselves vulnerable on the outside and even over the middle. Jack Besh, I don't think he's being talked about enough. I think he's going to be a factor not only in the passing game but in the running game as well because he's willing to block. That's a big deal. Big Mike, I think he's going to have a big year for the Raiders because he's willing to block. That's the other thing. You got to have guys that are willing to block. And I believe that the toughness and the culture that Pete Carroll and company are trying to create are going to have guys that are going to be willing to do the dirty work as well. Jacoby Myers, you already know he does that. He has no problem blocking. He is that guy. He has no problem. Devontae, when he was with the Raiders, was not good at blocking and didn't really care. He wasn't really interested in blocking. But it's Devontae Adams, and you know what he's going to bring to the table, so you deal with it. The only guy that's kind of a struggle bus when it comes to blocking is Brock Bowers. But again, similar to Devontae, you know what he brings to the table, so you're willing to say, hey, that's all right. Let everybody else do the heavy lifting when it comes to blocking. You just get open and do what you do because he has an opportunity to be fantastic. 2 years in a row, the Raiders got the best guy at their position. So I'm looking at production just based off of Josh Jacobs, based off of what Baldinger says and other guys that are expecting Ashton Jeanty to be in the position to be offensive rookie of the year. Now, if a quarterback goes out there and balls out, then you know that's lights out. It's church. They're going to end up being the offensive rookie of the year. But I do feel like he's going to be in line to be that guy. You're going to see a lot of heavy lifting. And if he goes in his rookie year for 1,300 plus, gets double-digit touchdowns, and helps the Raiders get to 8-9 wins, whatever the case may be, I definitely see him in line for offensive rookie of the year. And you know what? He could surprise me and do even more than that his rookie year. But again, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself and set the bar too high. But what do you think? What do you believe are realistic expectations for Ashton Jeanty his rookie year? And I know that it's hard to pinpoint it when we're talking about right now, we're looking at a 90-man roster. We're not looking at a 53-man roster. We don't know who the starting five on the offensive line are going to be. You know, it's not set in stone. We have an idea who it's going to be, but we don't know for sure. So I get it. But just kind of how are you feeling about it now that he's officially added to the team and you know what he has brought to the table when he was there at Boise State? What do you feel like he's going to bring to the table now that he's a member of the Silver and Black? Your calls and texts coming up next at 707-654-4693. We'll close out the show hearing from you. Here we go, Raider Nation. Segment number 3 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Your calls and texts draft that Locked On Raider podcast voicemail line, 707-654-4693. Let's start things off with Sucker Free Raider. He's calling to talk about the vibe at the Raiders draft party with the pick of Ashton Jeanty was made. Here he is, Sucker Free Raider.
Hey, what's up, Q? Sucker Free Raider. Just wanted to end the week on some positive vibes. You said you were going to talk about Jeanty today. I've been going to the either the town that had the draft or the official draft party for maybe the past 10 years. And I was at the Vegas one just recently, and first time in a long time, man, when they announced our pick, you know, the crowd went crazy. There was a lot of people. It was at the Palms, at the club, the pool club over there. It was crazy, man. They went wild. DJ played Mac Dre in the building. I'm feeling myself. So it was good times, man. Drinks was flowing, you know what I mean? So we had some fun out there, man. Like I said, first time in a long time. So all positive, man. Let's do this. Go Raiders.
Yes, sir. Thanks so much for the call. And it was positive. It definitely was positive. Like, I wasn't at the party, but I know it was positive. I know it was positive amongst Raider Nation. It was positive in Green Bay, right? I'm in the media room, and when they made that selection, everyone looked at me. Everyone looked at me. I've been going to these drafts for a long time and very familiar with all the media that was around, right? When pick number 5 was in the books, everyone looked at me and said, all right, Q, what the Raiders going to do? I said, well, I mean, Ashton Jeanty's there. I believe he's going to be the pick. He was the pick, and everyone's like, well, man, Raiders making some good moves. And I was like, yeah, but that was the guy he was mocked to the Raiders the whole time. They're like, yeah, but they actually made the pick. That was good. You know, and so a lot of positive vibes, even throughout the course of the whole time I was there. Not only just with the Jeanty pick, but every time the Raiders made a move, even trading back multiple times in the second round and then getting Jack Besh, they're like, man, Q, your Raiders are doing something, right? It felt good to be able to walk around the media room and they're like, hey, man, you guys ain't no clowns. You guys got some good people doing some smart things, right? And then other media members that have dealt with John Spytek, other media members that have dealt with Pete Carroll, they kept telling me the same thing. Hey, man, you're going to love these guys. They are smart. They know what they're doing. Spytek's been ready to be a GM. You're in good hands, trust me. And so, again, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. I don't want to crown these guys like, you know, the saviors for the Raiders franchise. But for the first time in a long time, the draft feels like they did a really, really solid job. Thanks so much for the call. I do appreciate you. Up next, got a text from Sun Valley Tay. He says, Q, Sun Valley Tay from the A. Love the show, man. All you do for Raider Nation. I got a question. What do you think about bringing someone like Keenan Allen, a true number 1 and a veteran, to add to the receiver room for a 1-year deal? Stephon Gilmore for the DB room, also 1-year deal. Again, champ, love the show at Sun Valley Tay from the A. Just win, baby. Thanks so much for the text. Thanks for the compliments. Appreciate you. And yeah, I mean, that could be a possibility, right? And that goes back to Mark in Chicago's call about what the Raiders could do to get closer to being that wild card team, right? And maybe bringing a veteran in like that, like a Keenan Allen or like a Stephon Gilmore will take a little bit of pressure off the younger guys so they don't have to go out there and perform right away. That's something that my guy, Brother Marquise in the 305 rep Miami said that, hey, that would be a good idea. I think Pete Carroll wants to rock with the young dudes. He has a lot of good kind of history with the young guys, being able to get them to perform at the level that they need them to. They might go into a few of these camps, like, you know, mandatory mini camp, rookie camp, whatever, and say, oh, these guys are further behind than we thought, so maybe we do need to address the veterans. They probably won't make a move for a veteran like a Keenan Allen or a Gilmore until training camp, maybe even into training camp. We've seen that more times than not, and honestly, a lot of the veterans don't want to be in training camp anyway, so I could see that being the case where they wait a little while. But I guess if the 1-year deal wasn't very much, the Raiders would probably be okay with that, because the one thing we learned from free agency is that they weren't going to spend big-time money. That's why I mentioned, you know, maybe making the trade for Jalen Ramsey, even though that's a lot of money. but you can make that trade, get him in the mix, get him into camp right away, and let him know what you need him to do and kind of solidify that cornerback position. But again, you're expecting him to be healthy throughout the course of the year, him being at his A game, and I know he's getting a little bit older, but he's still really good. So there's a few options. Gilmore, though, is still really good and still a very good tactician when it comes to the cornerback position. Thanks for the text. I do appreciate you. Up next, got a call from Josh in Southern Indiana calling to talk about the draft, how he feels about the overall class, and he has some predictions. Here's Josh in Southern Indiana.
Hey, what's up, Q? This is Josh here in Southern Indiana. It's been a minute since I've called in. I'm just calling in to give, my thoughts and impressions of the Raiders draft class. First of all, man, I just wanted to say thank you to you, Q, for all the hard work you do and everything you put into this and giving us this platform to be able to listen to and comment on every day. And I think it's a great show. Q, I'm really excited about this draft class, man. I'm not trying to drink the Kool-Aid on it, but man, I'm telling you, I give it A-. I think they did a great job of really filling a lot of holes and, getting better athletes and, a lot of guys with upside and just, not just Jeanty, but, just on Darian Porter and Dante Thornton Jr., just all down the line. I just think it was a really good class. I want to give 3 bold predictions from this class and 2 dark horse guys that I like to maybe make the roster. Number 1, I think Darren Porter will be starting at cornerback by the middle of the season. I think that Dante Thornton Jr. will score at least 3 touchdowns this year, 3 receiving touchdowns. And I look for either one of the 2 offensive linemen. I think one of those 2 guys will start at least 1 game this season. So I think we're going to need those guys for depth. My dark horse guys, so I like Jaw Joyner a lot. I'm not really going out on a limb with him because he probably should have been drafted, but I like him to make the 53-man roster. And another guy I really like is Kayvon Britton, who they brought in for a mini camp invite. Now, we drafted the Walter Payton Award winner, and we also drafted the runner-up. Well, this man was the number 3 guy, and he was the Ashton Jeanty of FCS last year. Kayvon Britton from Tarleton State. Q, look at his highlights, man. This guy he's electric with the ball. I expect him to at least make the practice squad, but I could see him, maybe trying to push in that 53 if he has, a good preseason. So, but I really think he could be a diamond in the rough. And I think our running back room's a little light. I really feel like we're still lacking some depth there, and relying on Mostert to back it up. Jeanty is, I think we still need some work there. So, other than that, Q, I thought it was a great draft class. I'm looking forward to next season, and go Raiders.
Big Josh, thanks for the call, my man. And again, appreciate the compliments on the show. It does really feel good, right, as far as overall class. And your predictions, I like your predictions. Darian Porter, a starter at cornerback by midseason. I'm good with that. I think Darian Porter's got an opportunity to be a really good player. He's still young at that position. He was a converted wide receiver. He's tough as nails, and he understands the comparisons to Richard Sherman, and I think that he has an opportunity to try to learn that position and be really good. He's not that great when it comes to man coverage, but zone coverage, he's really good, and I think that these scouts and these folks absolutely understand that, and not to mention Patrick Graham's scheme is very versatile. He likes man coverage, but he also could definitely run zone, and so if that's how Porter is going to succeed, then that's what they need to do. Thornton Jr., that's the 4th-round pick, the wide receiver, the speedster out of Tennessee. You got at least 3 receiving touchdowns for him. I think he's going to be that guy, that true player that the Raiders have been looking for some years that can stretch the field, be that deep threat guy, but he's also big, right? You can't teach speed and you can't teach size, and he's got both. So 3 receiving touchdowns, I'm good with that. One of the 2 offensive linemen will get a starter or at least 1 start throughout the course of the season. That's cool. Josh Joyner from Minnesota, he signed as an undrafted free agent. I could definitely see him making the roster. And Kayvon Britton from Tarleton State, that's an interesting one. That one is really intriguing to me. Really good player. He's only 5'7", but he is electric. He ran for almost 2,000 yards last season at Tarleton State. And I remember watching him when they played Baylor, and I thought, okay, let's see what this guy could do, because Baylor, especially in the Big 12, has a really good defense, right? Dave Aranda is a defensive-minded guy, so they hang their hat on their defense. He didn't have a good game against Baylor. He only got 68 yards, but it was on 13 carries because they were getting the break speed off of him. So they had to really go away from the run game. I think they only scored like 3 or 6 points, and Baylor had scored like 48 or something like it was a lot to a little. It was pretty embarrassing. But, I mean, he's a small dude. He's got a camp invite. If he can make a way, Ashton Jeanty and him, maybe that's a nice little 1-2 punch or a guy that you could stash on the practice squad. I wouldn't have any problem with that. Like I said, he ran for almost 2,000 yards at Tarleton State. He's pretty shifty. He's got some nice little moves. So, yeah, I can see that. And it's funny. Just because, you're not signed to a contract doesn't mean you can't make the team. Jalen Richard back in the day made the squad on a camp invite. Isaiah Palomau more recently, he made the team when they had the local visits. He was a USC guy, and he came in as a local visit, and the Raiders signed him. He stuck around. Right now, he's got a contract extension. He's a starting safety for the Raiders. Right? I mean, camp invites are just as good as undrafted free agents opportunities, right? You get into camp, and it's what you do. So I'm not saying at all that he can't make the squad. So we'll see. But thanks for the call. Definitely appreciate that. Up next, and I got time for just a couple more, a text from John C. in Denver. It's a lengthy one. It says, "Hey, Q, just wanted to throw in my thoughts on the draft and how next season might play out. I'm with you on the Chiefs taking a step back. Typically, teams that lose like that in the Super Bowl have a bad year after. Plus, Kelsey isn't getting any younger. As for us, I was kind of hoping for alignment with the first pick just because of the running back depth. That being said, Jeanty might be just that good where it doesn't matter. I love Josh Jacobs, but Jeanty might be a whole other level. Besh sounds like a guy who adds another element we've been missing on offense, which is toughness. We did a great job adding a lot of depth, which we've been lacking. Defensively, I know people are saying how bad we need a linebacker, but shouldn't there be a little more talk about Eichenberg being part of the equation? I know he didn't play much last year, but Spillane was the guy who didn't come off the field. Patrick Graham definitely has his hand on that pick, and he would know better than anyone how he's progressing in practice. The fact that they didn't do much to add to that position makes me think they may have more confidence in some of the young guys already there. Anyway, I agree. I think 8 to 9 wins is realistic, but 10 or 11 wouldn't shock me. Keep up the good work, and if your boss is listening, that crunchy cereal commercial kills me too. Haha. John C. in Denver. Thanks for the text. Appreciate you. And yeah, Tommy Eichenberg, he was a 5th-round pick out of Ohio State a year ago. A lot of us were pretty excited about him. He didn't get a lot of burn. He got banged up quite a bit last year, so we'll see what he does. He's got an opportunity too. You're absolutely right. I mean, they've got a couple guys that they brought in at the linebacker position. I was looking at the linebacker position a little different because I felt like Pete Carroll was looking for a different body type. I mean, I think he was very much wanting to sign Bobby Wagner, but Bobby Wagner re-signed with Washington, so that's why they didn't get to do that. But I thought he was definitely all in on Wags, and I don't know, maybe Eichenberg is that guy, right? And Patrick Graham would know better than anyone, as you mentioned, since he's been there. So we'll see what it is. We'll see what it looks like. But I'm not too sure. I do think that linebacker position could use some attention. Wouldn't be surprised if the Raiders bring in a veteran or two just to fill that void and at least provide some more competition at that spot. Thanks for the text, though. I definitely appreciate you. Got a call from Army Raider. He's calling to talk about Lucky Tassi, the former rugby player who the Raiders signed an NFL International Pathway program. Here he is, Army Raider.
What's up, Q? It's your boy, Army Raider. Listening to you talk about that big rugby player for defensive tackle, thought I'd chime in with a quick one since rugby was my primary sport that I played. It's funny, for as big as that guy is, forwards in rugby, one of their biggest strengths transferring to football is getting low. So as a run defender, if they can teach him the game, it'll actually be great. Because the rugby pitch, when you do a scrum, you actually almost have to be low and flat back to get underneath and leverage. And if you watch, they have their own type of sleds they hit as opposed to the way the football ones work. And a lot of football players actually have trouble hitting him when they first learn. So I think this is a guy who could actually be an asset, especially since he doesn't count against the roster. Anyways, that's my 2 quick thoughts on a kind of unique subject. Army Raider out.
Army Raider, thanks so much for the call. Thanks for your service as always. I definitely appreciate you and everybody that served our country. It's definitely appreciated. As far as Lucky Tassi, he's intriguing for sure. Nice little rugby nugget. If he can figure out the NFL game, could you imagine how strong that defensive line could be? Right? And tough. And again, I've mentioned it before. That's what this team is. That's how I describe this class and what Pete Carroll's trying to create: competition and toughness. And I think that the Raiders are looking like they're having both. So thanks so much for that. I appreciate you. Got a text from Professor Raider in Boston. Q, I wanted to shoot you a text because it was on my heart. I've been guilty of criticizing Derek Carr after he left the Raiders. I just got word that him and his wife just suffered a miscarriage. That's very personal to me, as my wife and I have lost 6 babies. It is one of the worst things that can happen to someone. I love football and I love the Raiders, but when it comes to life and death, this is more serious. I want to say Raider Nation prayers and thoughts for DC and his wife, Heather. Let's continue to support each other in spite of differences. This podcast was a nice distraction, though, through all my losses. And I appreciate the work you put into it, Q. Everyone stay safe, stay positive. Much love to all of Raider Nation. That's Professor Raider from Boston. Thanks so much for the text, my man. I appreciate you. Thanks for sharing your story. That's very personal, obviously. And that is a rough deal. And there are things that are way bigger than football. And, a lot of people get, I don't want to say upset, but they would question why I don't get so upset about a Raider loss or a Raiders losing season and think it's just because I'm like cool with it. It's just because I know exactly what you just said. Football is important, right? Football is what I do every day as far as talking about sports. I love it. I'm very passionate about it. But I understand that there's something way bigger than what I do every day, football and its life, like you mentioned. So, yeah, definitely prayers out to the Cars. I saw that as well. I think Derek had mentioned that at his church sermon that he had, I believe, here in Las Vegas, and he was talking about his shoulder injury, and then he started talking about the miscarriage that his wife had. And so, obviously, that is not a good thing. And, prayers out to anyone that could be going through that or have gone through that, and obviously the Cars as well. I'm with you 100%. Thanks so much, and I appreciate you, using this podcast as an outlet to, get you through some tough times. That means a lot to me as well. We'll close things out with a call from Sam in Oakland. He's calling to talk about the draft now that everything is said and done and gives his overall assessment. Here he is, Sam in Oakland.
Hey, Q, this is Sam from Oakland out here in Sacramento. Shout out to you, Q. Shout out to Ari. Shout out to Raider Nation. Shout out to all the callers who could get, they call in on one take. So, Q, I waited till after everything went down as far as the draft is concerned. I didn't want to call in till I kind of saw what our direction was after the draft. I would just say, not to get too heavy on the Shador thing, but it's confusing to why the Raiders wouldn't have taken the opportunity to take Shador, especially with him being able to develop behind Geno. They say the bad teams stay bad because of bad ownership. I felt that way for a long time. Felt like our ownership was kind of hamstringing us. Then I kind of saw the moves that was what was going on with Tom Brady in the background. I'm not so sure. I felt like we should have took Jalen Carter when we had the opportunity. When guys have unlimited potential, but they have a little bit of kind of trepidation in their background or little issues in their background, I'm willing to see what's going on with those guys. You have no real character issues with Shador, so I'm not really sure why we didn't go that way, especially if Geno gets hurt, then our backup's going to be Aiden O'Connell. I'm curious to see what our season is going to look like. Like all the Raider Nation, I'm sure that, every season it's a new beginning, a new outlook. It's all this excitement for what the season is going to bring. And I'm excited for all that. I just don't see what the NFL was doing with Shador. Now, I'm not going to harp on that because I'm really excited about the acquisitions that we did get. I'm just ready for some Raider football, man. Q, I trust your knowledge on the issues, and really appreciate what you did at Raider Nation. Shout out to Raider Eddie, man. I know Q, him saying that's your nemesis. You feel me? But shout out to Raider Eddie. You know what I'm saying? Everybody ain't as good as they all seem to be, and nobody is as bad as they seem to be. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to Raider Nation. Shout out to anybody who's passionate about Raider football. Let's go with it.
Sam in Oakland, or Sam from Oakland, now in the 916, which is Sacramento, California. Thanks so much for the call. Appreciate you. When it comes to Shador, look, Brady's the guy who knows him. I would think Brady would know him better than anyone, and the Raiders passed on him. So that kind of tells you what you need to know, right? If he was elite in their eyes, they probably would have done it and probably would have not tripped off the cameras. Stuff like that is probably not a big deal. But since he's not elite, and I never said he was elite, I think he's a good quarterback. I think he's going to be really good. I actually think he's going to be better in the pros than he was in college, but that's just me. They probably thought that, the juice isn't worth the squeeze. And that's fair. And now he has an opportunity to go in a good situation in Cleveland where none of those quarterbacks are fantastic. I think he's the best quarterback on the roster right now. Watson's not going to play. Flacco's old. Kenny Pickett's not very good. Dylan Gabriel was surprised he got selected when he did. And then there's Shedeur. So, I mean, he has a good chance as anybody to even be the starting quarterback. So, if he gets his opportunity and he takes advantage of it, good for him. If he doesn't, well, then, he's just going to prove that everybody that passed on him was right. As far as Jalen Carter goes, the Raiders couldn't draft him. They wanted to draft him. They liked him a lot. They couldn't. It was just too close to that Ruggs situation. It was a terrible situation that happened with Ruggs and Tina Tintor and her dog here in Las Vegas. They couldn't do it. I know everyone doesn't get that, but the community, you just can't do. You can't S on your community like that. And that's exactly what that would have been. They like Jalen Carter a lot, as many teams did. It's the reason why he dropped like he did. A lot of teams said, yeah, thanks, but no thanks. Howie Roseman and the Eagles, they've built up that resume and the credibility where they're able to do that. And I agree. I shout out everyone in Raider Nation, including Raider Eddie, right? I play everyone's calls, whether they agree with me or disagree with me, that's fine. Everyone's welcome here. I try to let it be known that you don't have to agree with me. You don't have to like me. You don't have to like the show to get your call or text on the show. I try to be open to everyone. The only thing I don't like is when it gets personal. That's it. I don't get personal with people. I don't try to get personal with anyone that I don't know. And I don't like when people get personal with me, especially ones that don't know me. Right. And so that's my only disconnect when it comes to some people that call in is they try to get a personal attack in on me when they don't know me from Adam. So that's the only thing that bothers me. But everyone's welcome to call. Everyone's welcome to text. Everyone's welcome to their own opinion. I appreciate that. I don't judge them. I do what I do. So, it's like I said, it's open game. Not everyone's going to think alike, and that's okay. That's what we do here. So this is a no judgment zone as far as I'm concerned here on the show. So thanks so much for that call. I do appreciate you, Sam. It's great to hear from you. And that's going to do it for today's show. Try to get as much in as possible as we close out the week and head into the weekend really strong. Hopefully you have a fantastic weekend. It's the Kentucky Derby. I don't know how it crept up on me so quickly, but the Kentucky Derby's this weekend. So got to get the bets in on the horses, right? Got to make sure to do that and check out all the fancy hats that are going to be out there. Cinco de Mayo's right around the corner. We all know that that's a favorite of mine as well. So yeah, man, let's just keep this party rolling. It's the Electric Circus. We like to do it here each and every day on the Locked On Raiders podcast. So Raider Nation, have a fantastic weekend. Do what you do. Enjoy yourself as always. And back on Monday, we'll be talking about everything that we collect over the weekend. So until Monday, Raider Nation, take care of yourself, take care of your family, love on your family. Most importantly, as always, just win, baby.